Welcome to the Non-Essential Podcast. I'm Steve Gibson.
I'm Ben Matlock. How's it going?
One of these weeks, I'm going to start the show and remember what we're called, even though we're
Yeah, welcome to the Big Boy Power Hour. Today on Big Boy Power Hour, I'm not going to clean my room. My mom can't make me.
You're not my real mom. God damn it, Steve. For the last time, yes, I am.
I wouldn't do all this shit for you if I wasn't your real mom.
No.
I wouldn't have this fucking conversation. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Non-Essential Show. We're first show into this new every other week schedule. How you feeling about it?
Pretty good.
Me too. Maybe we should stretch it out. Take it between once a year.
We'll do it
come together.
Yeah, once a year. It's like the Star Wars Christmas special of podcasts, except
critics
we can't ruin it. We can't ruin anything.
Critics agree that Non-Essential Podcast ruins Christmas.
Yeah, we've had that left before on our socials. You assholes ruined my Christmas.
Yeah, I was like, good.
Could you imagine the whole family showing up to grandma's house and your 87-year-old grandma's like, everybody gather around, we got to listen to this podcast I found, and it's our show.
Yeah,
she
that'd be fucking hilarious. She pulls out an old record of us.
And that'd be it's that thing being a stand-up comedian. Most of them have stories where they're asked to do comedy and they get to the venue and find out that it's the most anti-comedy venue possible. Normally you'd be kind of neither of us are great with attention, so it's good that we do a show. But it normally it'd be oh yeah, we got an audience. That's kind of cool. But that'd be the worst kind. It's oh, you've got a hostage. Your hostages forced to listen to your show. You're great.
Oh, what if you found out a serial killer really loved playing your show for his victims? I don't know.
He got off on the fact that they were begging for death by the time he finally just kill me.
That would hurt. That would actually hurt my feelings a lot. Negative comments and stuff. I've been on the internet long enough. Real shit happens. But if that news report got back to me that we caught a serial killer and he just kept tapes of this horrible podcast that his victims had to listen to beforehand, and then the documentary would come out and the detective would be murder's one thing, but this sick fuck.
You see a lot of dark shit working in law enforcement, but my life will never be the same after this.
The host of the Non-Essential Podcast wanted to comment, but we didn't want to talk to them.
I could totally see them interviewing me and me being so aloof that I don't understand what's going on. Be yeah, we've done the show for quite a while.
Wow, we're really blowing up here.
What's going on?
It's finally happened.
Where are you from again? 60 Minutes. Oh, why? Wait, what I miss?
Dateline.
Yeah, Dateline. Yeah, I guess Dateline's the killer one. I don't watch those shows.
I don't really. I just know Bill Hader's Dateline guy impression, and that guy's pretty great. So yeah, on this show, if this is your first Non-Essential Podcast, welcome. Take a seat, or don't. I don't care.
I want people to stand through our whole show.
Yeah, applaud. Now.
No, applauding. That's not what I mean. I just want you to be uncomfortable while you listen to the show. Lounging.
Listen to it while you work out. It's actually great for that because the more you hear my nasally drone, the more you'll want to punch something. So you'll train really hard. You'll become a beefcake. I want to
make sure I kick that guy's ass good. I mean, sounds like I already could, but I want to do it better.
Yeah. But I want to make sure I do it. I want to make sure I kill him in one blow. Yeah, on this show we tell each other stories. They can be about anything. They're pretty much just creepypastas.
Yeah, that's.
One day. Someday.
That's a new game called One Truth and One Lie, and it's very easy to pick with.
Well, they can be. It's not a lie. It's just true. They won't be.
Won't be, yeah. Because now you think that, and we did this with when we initially picked this format, because we've changed our format already once. When we started, we each did a topic every week. And
oh my God,
that's
could you imagine?
Yeah.
And
we weren't doing
this shit after a year.
And we weren't doing like creepypastas for most of that. We were like actually like going out and finding topics and writing notes and scripts. And we're like, nope, that's fucking stupid. Yeah. And you think every time we're like, okay, well, we'll make it easy on us. Like there's 2 weeks between having to present something, so we'll be able to present better. The more like leeway we give ourselves, the less I'm apt to put it.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you like put off like a vacation and you're like, I'm going to do all this shit on my vacation. And then like you just sleep and fuck off.
My analogy was going to be, because this is how I was in school. Like if there was like, oh, you know, this, for the whole term, there's one project at the end that's due. If I would actually try to like work on it throughout the term, it would be shit. But I'm very much the like, oh, I've got 4 hours to do a 37-page book report. I'm going to knock it out of the park. That's my MO.
Yeah. I just drank something, and I'm like, as I was drinking it, I'm like, I'm going to cough this shit back up. I know it's going to happen, and sure as shit, it happened.
Bud Light, you'll cough this shit back up.
No, it's like, it's the worst thing that could happen with, because it's lemonade sparkling water. Yeah. So it just burns your fucking esophagus. Yeah. So I quit. We're getting new assistants. I need new sparkling water that doesn't hurt me. So yeah,
one of these days we're gonna make that joke about being replaced, and like some just random person will swoop into your house and like push you out of the chair and grab the mic, like, "Hey, I'm here to fix it." You're like, and we wouldn't even complain. Brent. I don't think we just like, well, that's neat. Like, I'm going back upstairs, play some video games.
I'm Brent Maddox.
So yeah, this is your turn this week. It sounds like it's a
goofy pasta.
Goofy.
A fun pasta, a silly pasta.
I'm gonna start that website. It's just like
just fucking a story full of bad punchlines.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is a story. It's called The Butcher Family. It is written by Night Spirit.
I went to school with a kid, the Butcher family.
My son of a Butcher family.
His dad worked at the school too.
Butchin'?
So we were surrounded by butchers. So I think this is a true story
just
about my
cuts a fucking pig's head off and hands it to you for lunch.
Yeah.
My family has a terrible curse that causes me to live in constant anxiety. We're butchers. We don't run a national corporation for it or anything, but our quality has always been impeccable. Maybe it says something about me, but I don't immediately assume you run a corporation if you tell me you're a butcher.
I know, that's what do you do? I'm a carpenter.
I'm a butcher,
do you run a
but
national...
but no big deal. Please don't embarrass me. 5-star Google reviews, top word of mouth. We would probably even have a Michelin star if it were possible for places other than restaurants. Somehow we've been... That's a very specific brag.
Yeah, because like I'm sure there are like accolades that places like butchers shops can get, but that again, that's like saying, "Oh man,
we would probably have an Oscar if they gave them to butcher shops."
Those 97 Cleveland Indians probably would have won a Super Bowl if that was a thing that baseball teams did.
Somehow we have been able to produce the most delicious, soft, mouth-melting meats, better than Wagyu beef. But the story for how this came to be and how this is not as happy-go-lucky as our service.
I would have just assumed any story about butchering things and turning them into food would be happy-go-lucky.
Yeah. Fucking goddamn chickens are doing a dance into the goddamn machine.
Jimmy the Jolly Butcher.
My family have been butchers for hundreds of years. Even our last name is Butcher, and somehow we have not changed professions since that was given. Let me clarify that this is my story, my explanation for why I wish I was dead, yet I don't want to die. But I must first tell the story of my ancestor. I'm not sure exactly how long ago this was, but the story goes that it was during the medieval ages. His father and grandfather always kept honesty as the shop's top moral framework. Because of this, they were often the choice meat shop for even lords and ladies of the nearby lands, until one day when a new shop opened up. My ancestors were not worried because their shop was so successful. This shop did not make a sale for days. However, on a day no more special than any other, the town drunk somehow found himself in the other shop, thinking it was my ancestors' family's shop. Ow, god damn it. Fuck that sparkling water.
Yeah,
really
you
hurts.
mistakenly, you accidentally grabbed sparkling pepper spray.
God, it fucking tastes like that. I hate this shit. I'm never buying that again. You ordered
That's what you say. You say now you'll develop almost a kink for it. You're like, oh man, make my throat burn, baby.
This actually could
You're
probably
hooked on
use. You know, it's saying something of I think Everclear would calm it down.
Mellow this shit out with
Jesus
some pure
fucking
grain
Christ.
alcohol.
Lemonade is not just fucking squeezing a pure lemon into some fucking carbonated water, you assholes.
It's like the Mitch Hedberg joke about Sprite, how Sprite used to say it's lemon and lime. It's like, bullshit, there's more to it than that.
He ordered a cut of leg meat, drunkenly swaggered it home, and fell into a booze-induced slumber. The next day he cooked the meat, ate it, and came running into town, directly into our shop. He asked what he had ordered in his drunken stupor, as it was the most salivating, most delectable meat he had ever eaten. The family had told him that he did not visit the shop yesterday at all. They then realized it had to have been the other shop by mistake. My family had said there was no way it could have been the other shop, so they all went over as a group. Grandfather, father, son, and drunk.
I hear you're selling some meat.
Yeah. Now hold up here. We knew you were a butcher shop, but you're selling cuts of meat? They asked the shopkeeper what was ordered, and they simply gestured to the stack of cube meat on display. With furrowed brows, my family had purchased a cube and immediately went back to cook it.
I thought they said it was a leg of meat that he ran home with or something, like a big...
He ordered a cut of leg meat. So.
Oh, okay. My bad.
After doing so, the way they would cook any of their own product, the cooked meat was placed on their tongues, which is what eating is.
No, well, sort of. Now I'm picturing just sticking your tongue out and setting it on top of it.
As soon as it touched their tongue, they fucking wiped it off. They said, ew, gross. Yeah. Within seconds, they realized they had to keep the other shop's meat a secret to the rest of the town. They told the drunk that he must never tell anyone about the other shop's quality of meat, and he promised not to, as if nobody else would go into that shop.
I know. I love the idea that you're in a very common business, and you just expect that nobody will ever shop at a different shop.
Yeah, it's I have my preferred sandwich shops, but I'm going to go to another sandwich shop if one's around. I'll try shit out. They told the drunk that he must never tell anyone about the other shop's quality of meat, and he promised not to. But a drunk would not be a drunk if they did not yell secrets to the entire town while blinded by booze. Very true.
Yes. Yeah. That's what makes them lovable, honestly.
I'm glad they popped that bubble right away. Be like, of course the drunk didn't keep a secret. It did not take long for people to hear about the other shop and its miraculous tasting meat. My ancestor's butcher shop was in danger of closing within weeks. That means you need to you need a war chest, man.
Your business model's pretty shaky here, it seems. I also I think that the marketing strategy of this other shop's pretty shaky too. Let's not tell people about her meat. Let's wait for one drunk to stumble in.
Yeah.
That'll do the job.
Yeah. Well, we just need to wait 6 months for drunken word of mouth. When that fucking alcoholic's nah, it's so good. And everyone always believes that guy. The son could not stand to see his family at such a low point, and being the youngest at 16, he wanted to prove that he was helpful to the family. He began spying on the other shopkeeper in hopes of figuring out their secret to the delicious cubes. Their methods, from what the son could see, all seemed normal, but every weekend they would take their wagon out of town. The son was not sure where, as he was not able to stealthily follow beyond the trees and buildings. He asked his father and grandfather for permission to follow and was firmly told no, that doing so would be a terrible thing, and that they were honest people and that God would help them eventually. God did not. Another week later, the father grew ill. Without his labor, the shop grew even less profitable, and they could not afford the things needed to help him get better: food, medicine, and time. The son could not bear it.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought I had a seed of thought, but it didn't germinate. Sorry.
You just summed up our show. We had the seed of an idea, but it fucking died on the vine. That weekend there was a new moon. It was the best opportunity for him to sneak into the wagon in the dark of night. He endured the long, bumpy ride in his wooden cage until they had arrived. As soon as the wagon stopped, voices could be heard, but it was indiscernible what they were saying. The son peeked out of the cover and saw two figures heading into a building. All became quiet. He slipped out of the wagon and made his way, as slyly as he could, into the same building. Inside, he saw the two figures carrying a bloody wrapping of meat. Finally, the son had discovered the source of the delicious carcasses, the shopkeeper's supplier. The two figures repeated this several times, and when only one figure returned inside, he knew he had to get back into the wagon before it took off to his hometown. Just as he exited the building, the horses began trotting. He sprinted as fast as he could, the sound of his footsteps hidden by the horses, and jumped into the wagon right before his leg muscles would have reached their physical limit. The ride back was not bumpy. He did not feel as if he was in a wooden cage anymore, but a bed of gold. When they had finally made their way home, he wrapped a leg of lamb in his shirt, not for any real reason, just for he just liked it. Yeah. Jumped out the side opposite of the shopkeeper. Imagine like a cop busts you and he's like starts pulling out giant legs of lamb out of your pockets and shit. It's like, no, I'm a butcher boy. And quickly made his way.
This is where the phrase "being on the lamb" came from, coincidentally.
Yeah, every criminal carries his entire legs of lamb. Jumped out the side opposite the shopkeeper and quickly made his way home. He let out a shout of joy when he entered his home. It was a shout that his entire family had heard. It's a real golden ticket moment.
I'm enjoying the idea. The crippled old grandfather finally jumps out of bed and shows everybody that he wasn't actually helpless. He was just lazy. I like that this is written like it's a heist that's happening in modern day. Like he snuck into the building and got home and shouted at everybody. But it's in the Middle Ages, like every building was a room. Yeah, it was like
everybody in town told him to shut up at the same time.
Yeah.
He told them his story and showed the wrapped meat. Although his grandfather was not entirely on board, his sister and mother were jumping for joy. They knew that this meant a good future for them all, and that they could afford the father's care. The son quickly unwrapped his treasure, and the cacophony of joy had ended. The son had not grabbed a leg of lamb, but a human limb. I feel like if you've been in a butcher shop your whole life, you should know the difference.
Yeah. Plus, you can't prove that the person wasn't named lamb. It might be still the leg of lamb.
Yeah. Yeah, that I told the police that. Yeah. His grandfather immediately yelled at him for what he had brought into their house. He took the meat and went to start a fire outside.
I thought he was going to beat the son with the limb. That would have been better.
Yeah. So we finally answered the question that's been haunting us for generations. He started the fire. In order to burn this meat before anyone found out about it, his sister comforted their mother, who was crying. The son felt great shame and went to his bed. After a
I think I mostly feel revulsion because we all ate that meat.
I've been reading the Shogun novel that show's based off of.
I'm pretty sure the novel was written about the show. I think it's the other, yeah. The show that's No, I'm just being stupid.
Oh, yeah. I know. I was like, am I actually incorrect? Am I that dumb?
Well, it'd be funny because the show's not like it's still coming out.
Yeah, I was like, well, I was like passing off like, no, I'm reading a real novel. And they'd be like, no, it's like some fucking bullshit like narrative of like the Star Wars movies that come out at the same time. But literally everything in that fucking book, at least so far, I'm only like 5 or 6 chapters in, but it's like constantly like, I stubbed my toe. You should commit seppuku. like it's just everybody. There's always somebody standing by to be like, you should kill yourself. Like your honor is besmirched. You should off yourself. And a lot of the time they don't. It's just like having this constant like physical manifestation of depression with you.
And this kids is what we mean when we say we need to get back to the good old days. It's when every life decision you seriously contemplate if you should cut your own guts out.
Yeah, like are you always prepared for that? Great book, by the way. I'm really enjoying it. Especially, I would recommend it to you because a lot of it, especially in the beginning, is a lot of like sailing stuff and nautical shit.
I'm not really into that stuff.
Yeah. That's true. I must have been thinking of some other guy I've talked to about boats
all the time.
Half these podcasts.
Including before we started recording tonight. But.
Right. After a long and well needed from his escapades the night before rest, he woke up to the sounds of people gathering around a busy shop, their own. He asked what had happened, and the family told him that they spoke a great deal about after he had gone to sleep. They all decided they needed to do this, even the grandfather. They cooked the lamb and, after trying some of the forbidden meat, called in a favor to the lords that they had previously sold to. This piece of meat was given to the king, and the word had spread quickly. Their shop had meat that the king himself had put orders in for. They had been made the king's supplier. So pretty
all of this off of one human limb? Like...
Yeah.
How...
My father stopped...
I also love this idea that they're like, oh, he was so... Like, the family shamed him and were crying and weeping.
Absolutely not.
And then within like an hour of him falling asleep, they're like, oh, yeah, I guess we could try. But let's not wake him up. Yeah. Just in case that, if it's
just
gross,
in case he actually did save our asses. My father stopped the story at this point. I thought of it as strange, but simply a folktale, a family legend. He then showed me something I never would have imagined, what he would work on every morning while I was asleep. He had done an excellent job to never reveal the family secret. Every morning, before even the street animals would wake, my father would chop, skin, fillet, boil, and prepare various pieces of fresh human meat. I was sick. I felt as if I were to blame. He needed to continue this horrible tradition. He needed to kill people for my sake, to pay for my tuition, for the constant medical bills to make sure you could just be a good butcher.
I was going to say that's bullshit. There's plenty of successful butchers that don't serve human meat.
They had to eat fucking cursed human flesh back then because like
they didn't have access to animals.
They pushed their cows into their own shit for fun. Like for the
I love this like duality of like, oh, we're not a national corporation or anything. We're just a good butcher shop that has to serve human meat because it's delicious.
Yeah, like you have to. What a low ceiling.
Right.
To keep my mildly successful butcher shop, I have to murder people. Like, not that like if you ran an empire, it would be justified, but it's like, God damn, aim higher if you're going to make a deal with the devil.
In truth, we've never actually tried to serve cattle. It might work just as well, but why take that risk?
Yeah, it was like that story we read a few weeks back about the priest who like made a deal with the devil to have a good fucking church.
Yeah,
It's
before
like,
just like going out in the street and be like, "Hey, so
Yeah.
I'm sure." Like, yeah, this is the logical only step.
You want to have a good church? Have a fucking basketball court outside. Like, it's not hard. Give people something to do besides listen to your ass.
Sermons 15 minutes or less. That's all you have to put on your posters. You'll be fucking packed.
Yeah, like, bless the Father, amen. You know, it's like that George Carlin bit, like a quick Hail Mary. For the constant medical bills to make sure we stayed healthy, to pay every other bill that we needed to live. I couldn't take this burden, and I couldn't deal with the fact that my father was a murderer. I like that the dad's just telling his son, like, one day all this will be yours. Like, he was going to be cool with it.
And I also like that the idea that apparently you have to be murdered, because back in the day they just bought cadavers, so now they're like, we'll cut out the...
They found out it's a little more fresh. They're actually really tender if you play episodes of our podcast before. And I couldn't deal with the fact that my father was a murderer. I panicked and ran away. When I saw my dad next, I had to hear the rest of the story. So, fucking ran away. It didn't run long.
But when I saw my dad, so did you just pass him in the street? Or
I was like, did you run in a circle like fucking Three Stooges? Like, whoop, 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 whoop.
I forgot my car keys, but while I'm here.
Yeah, tell me the rest. Even though my dad was a killer, I knew he wouldn't kill me because I was his reason for doing so in the first place. He was paying for us to have a good life.
That's awful presumptuous of you, kid.
Other people get a job and work it.
Yeah.
He continued.
I just meant that I know he wouldn't kill me. It's like, well, just wait till you dent the fender of his new car.
Yeah. Just wait until you let his butcher shop go to shit.
Yeah. But...
He continued the story. Here is the important part. The grandfather, in order to meet the new demand for the shop's meat, went to the other shopkeeper and explained the situation. He apologized for what the son had done, but insisted that he needed access to the supplier. He wouldn't ask how the supplier had such fresh bodies, and he would even cut the other shopkeeper in for a 50-50 split of the money. He explained that this was needed because his son was ill, and they had to afford the medical care and supplies. Even with a 50-50 split, they would be able to afford it, thanks to all the new demand. The shopkeeper was firm in their denial of his request. That's short-sighted. I agree with that.
Yeah.
You know, a merger is easily more profitable here. The grandfather persisted, explaining how they absolutely needed this to help his son, who was the main laborer of the family. The shopkeeper once again disagreed.
See, this sounds like a lot like the offers that I get from like other businesses that want to get you to like buy into their groups. It's because he's like, look, we really need it because we need the money, and in exchange, you'll get 50% less than you'd get if you sold 100%. So, like, what's really in it for this other shop to be like, okay, it's like we'll split the profit. It's like, yeah, but we get 100% of the profit as is. Like, I don't. Yeah. I'm failing to see why this shop would go along with this plan, but
well, I do because like you would. The original shop has taken all this business back,
but it'll lose it again as soon as they can't supply the meat.
But they know where the supplier is. They're just trying to like amicably do it. This is like we know where it's going, but let's just go there.
I'll say this is the Bezos like origin story.
Gotcha. The shopkeeper denied any sale to him. In his desperation, he pushed the shopkeeper out of the way. He must have been a very strong man, or perhaps very desperate, because the shopkeeper was knocked back into the wall, their head striking it with a cracking sound. The grandfather, ignoring this, pushed on in his mission, grabbing as many bags of meat as he could carry. As he was carrying, like, that's just a funny image to me. It's like, well, like, there are people who rob banks, like, less haphazardly. As he was carrying them.
And again, if they knew where the supplier was, why would you need to steal the meat in the shop? Like,
Maybe they just don't want to go all the way out there.
Yeah,
maybe they're hoping to make him do it.
We're out of gas money for now. We need this meat.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit of a fucking dick move to open up a butcher shop like right across from you. You know what? They're right. Kill that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
No.
How dare you try to compete with us?
Well, that's not. That's being a shithead. Like competition's like it's down the fucking road or other end of town. This is just being a shed, and now we have to like price gouge each other.
Yeah, see, now I'm picturing the story's turned into, in my head, this like weird cannibalistic medieval butcher version of Sopranos.
Yeah,
like somebody just moved into Tony's territory.
I just love the like. It's just the very like repetitive build up to murder here.
Yeah.
Sell your shop. No. Sale. No. Sale. No. Die. Like.
Well, technically, it wasn't even die. It was, I'm going to take your meat. Wah!
No. I need to protect my son. As he was carrying them out the store, the shopkeeper told him that for doing this, his wish would be granted. His son would be able to work and provide for the family as long as his age allowed him to. The grandfather, after stopping to hear this, simply turned away and continued to the family shop. What our family didn't know about that shopkeeper was that they were a witch. One who had cursed the family in a strange way that did not manifest until the witch was long gone. The day after the grandfather had stolen the bags of meat, his son had miraculously recovered. He went from coughing up blood, having a high fever, chills, and aches, to no symptoms whatsoever. But what seemed to be a blessing turned out to be a part of the shopkeeper's curse. The father had no symptoms of this terrible ailment his entire life until he became too old to continue working. The day after he retired, he felt a strange sensation in his throat. He started sweating. Mucus began dripping from his nose. He drank
one of those lemonade sparkling waters. Fucker.
Yeah, I'm bleeding from the mouth now. Mucus began dripping from his nostrils, then pouring. He began violently coughing blood. It was said that he even exclaimed between gasps for life that his head was on fire, that it felt like his insides were being replaced by thorns, cutting him apart. He had died a most violent death. The family speculated that this must have been a witch's curse based on what the grandfather had told them way back when he took the meat. This was apparently a fitting explanation for the time period. With the death of the father, they began to worry. They wondered if they too were cursed. Ultimately, possibly as a way of easing their racing minds, they decided that it was just the father who this would affect.
Yeah.
You can usually decide the limits of your own curse.
You make it up as you go, yeah.
Yeah. They believed that the witch's curse was over with his death. It was not. As soon as every person had stopped working, they died an incredibly grotesque death. Over the years, things were discovered about the curse, that it would happen regardless of if the person ever actually, quote, retired. Once they reached retirement age, they were at risk of the curse giving them a horrific end. It did not matter if they had spent their lives working until a certain point. Luckily, the age of retirement is constantly going up in America. So,
I was just about to say, now we know who's behind that push.
Yeah, so...
No, but it's still just rich old white men.
But, yeah.
Technically,
AKA
witches.
a witch.
Yeah.
If they tried to end their lives, the curse would take them in an even more horrific fashion than the others. If they tried to show that this would happen to anyone else, it would take them before they were able to. There was no way to avoid it or to show it that existed to those outside of the family.
I don't know. Maybe stop selling human meat. Like, that's the curse. It's like if you keep being fuckers and murdering people.
Yeah, I'm trying to wonder why that's the requirement. Like if your butcher shop fails, like you die. But I don't know. It was eventually discovered that the accumulation of pain throughout the person's life would be inflicted 100-fold onto them whenever the curse was activated. Ancestors who had been injured in wars would receive the most extreme, unbearable, searing hot pains in the places they were shot or stabbed. Those who had only broken bones in their lives would feel as if their bones were being ground into a powder. Any scrapes would feel as if sandpaper was being rubbed over and over and over onto their open flesh.
Anybody who caught gonorrhea would experience super gonorrhea.
Their dick would just melt off. The only way to avoid this was seen. Oh, I don't know what the sun said. I'll just read it. The only way to avoid this was seen with those who lived simple lives without much injury or illness. They would not experience as terrible of an ending. However, this is easier said than done. To avoid all injuries, aches, pains, and more for an entire life is not an easy task. Not a single person in my lineage has died peacefully on their deathbed. They've all died the most horrific deaths ever imaginable, save for the lucky few who were able to live a sheltered life. My father explained that this is why he had always watched me like a hawk. This is why our medical bills were so high, beyond the average person's yearly checkups. He said he always tried his best to make sure I was safe and healthy growing up, but what parent doesn't? I didn't realize the gravity of the situation, and he didn't want to scare me as a child or ruin my childhood by living a completely sheltered life. This was his way of going about this. He said he did the best that he could without jeopardizing my having a normal life. He didn't want me to live too scared to do anything. Now that I was older and mature enough in his eyes to understand without it completely destroying my worldview, he told me. He was wrong. There was no way I could ever be okay with learning this truth. He should have foreseen the possible outcomes. This is why I wish I was dead, but I don't want to die. Growing up, I had managed to stay safe and healthy thanks to his precautions, but now death will be too painful. Everything I had learned about my family didn't matter to me at this point. I just wish my dad had told me before now. I didn't want to hear anything he had to say, but like I mentioned before, I had to. It's not like I could wheel my own bed away, much less past the nurses. I already couldn't handle the pain. I wish my attempt was successful. The end.
Yep. Okay. So,
break it down, Steve.
Probably more questions than anything. But the big looming one is, okay, why did they have to sell human meat? Like, I feel like that story could have worked just as well if, like, this other shop just had, like, a supplier that had better quality meat and they stole it and got cursed for it, because the cannibalistic aspect seems to have nothing to do with anything.
It has to do with, like, that initial success of, like, why does that other butcher shop have such good meat? And,
yeah, but like I said, just as easy and more plausible is just that they have an excellent meat sort. Well, and they're a fucking witch. It's magic meat. Just say that.
yeah, I don't know.
In fact, that's the name of the shop. It was Mike's Magic Meats and Morsels.
Marvelous Meats and Morsels and Cubes.
That's what I was hoping. When they kept saying meat cubes, I was hoping he, like, followed them and they went down into, like, some weird-ass, like, meat mine. There was just, like, a pulsating cavern of, or quarry of meat that they were...
When I worked at a grocery store, they had, like, the pre-cubed meat for, like, stew and stuff. Yeah. And that's what I thought. I thought each person, like, grabbed a cube of meat and placed it on their tongue.
Yep. This one's certainly human.
Yeah.
I do think it's an interesting idea, although it was like the last idea just tucked into like the last couple paragraphs of like having to learn and live with this idea that like basically no matter what you do, like we all know we're going to die, but I think most of us hope it's not in a horrific way, and just like coming into knowledge that no matter what you do, your end is going to be as like violent and painful as possible. Like how you would mentally deal with that. Like I do like that idea. I think that's the interesting like thread in this story. And it's the one that like, is just like, oh yeah, by the way, so all of this build up, they got cursed and now we'll die. And when I found that out, I tried to kill myself. The end.
Yeah. I don't know.
I feel a lot of the focus was on like the weird, and it.
I thought it was like a pretty good story. It just like you said, it's split off into like a few ideas that don't quite mesh.
Yeah, like if they picked any one of them and really worked the story to focus on that theme, I think it could have been more successful, like really regardless of which one you picked. But I don't hate it. It's unique. I'll give it that.
Yeah. Part of me that likes, like, Sweeney Todd and stories like that I think is interesting.
That's the thing. Like, the second you say, "Oh, this is about butchers," and it's talking about, I'm like, they're serving humans like that.
Yeah.
And so then for it to have this kind of extra, like, twist on it is, at least it, like, went in a direction that you couldn't possibly have imagined at the beginning, given that you could immediately imagine where the initial thing was going. Yeah, now I'm mostly just hungry, though.
I ate before the show.
Yeah, me too. But
I made what I thought was burgers, but actually people.
Yeah, I didn't have delicious meat cubes. I had pizza, which are delicious triangles.
Delicious triangles.
Probably
everything's geometry when you come down to it.
Probably none of it was human meat, but it was Pizza Hut, so you don't know. Like, maybe it was.
If Pizza Hut is, like, making that fucking deal with the devil again, it's like aim higher. I like Pizza Hut, but it's... Come on. You can do better than that if you're selling your everlasting soul.
Yeah, well, Pizza Hut's, like, deal with the devil went south when all those, like, weird-ass bumpy plastic red cups disappeared.
Yeah.
Pizza Hut had a very specific vibe when I was growing up that it just doesn't have anymore. It's like, nah.
I remember going out to eat at Pizza Hut and really enjoying it.
Yeah.
As a kid.
It was
like,
I had one of my birthday parties was at a Pizza Hut. I don't remember anything else about it.
But yeah, you get like you were a kid, you get that little sheet to color on, and they give you like a personal pan pizza. Cause
ours, like many of them, had the that little like tabletop arcade thing that you could play like Mario, not like I think it was Mario and like Pac-Man, maybe, like it was dual something. The personal pan pizzas, and we had that book it program where if you had to read like 5 books, but they were like 5 kids books, so you could do that like on the toilet in one shitting.
One shit.
And then you got a little sticker and a pizza. And that was fantastic. It didn't work. I'm still barely literate, but I got a lot of pizza.
Yeah, I did learn I like pizza more than I like reading. So yeah, that's the story. Thanks. Thank you again.
Did that one?
Community.
I already forget. You may have started. Did that have an author?
Yeah, it was. See, I just closed the window because I'm smart.
Because you should have known that I would randomly ask the one question we never actually seem to.
Night Spirit. I was about to call it Night Springs, but that's from Alan Wake.
Yeah.
So thanks, Night Spirit. If your dad's actually doing that, you should turn him in.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe. If you turn him in, but delete all the tapes of this show that he's been using for his
It tenderizes the meat.
Yeah.
The more of the show you're forced to listen to, the fibers in your muscles literally just give up and release and become tender.
You feel like when you feel your spirit breaking, your muscle meat is also breaking down.
I do feel like if you learn this and you decided, I can't handle the weight of this, I'm going to kill myself. Wouldn't that be an excellent time to break the curse?
Well, it dies with you, right? It dies in your lineage.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You end the lineage,
Yeah. I don't know.
But if you die before your dad, you'd have to murder your dad first and then kill yourself, because you can't leave the business running.
I don't know. That's the thing. It's like the consequences versus the reward don't make it worth it. But if there's a better reward, there's probably a chance I take that deal, because there's a chance you could die really painfully anyway.
Yeah. And before retirement age. Anyway.
Yeah. So you're telling me the first, 60 years of my life could fucking rock?
But, like, what could you possibly be offered that's better than a fairly successful local butcher business?
A too successfully local business.
It's a franchise now. Yes,
yeah.
bitches.
And a cherry Coke. It's like... That's
what
I mean, as like the reward's so fucking modest.
Yeah, and they didn't get aggressive enough with that very first... Well, one of the first thoughts was, oh, it's not a national corporation or anything. I mean, that's what like shows like Supernatural do that, where you find out like these giant food distributors are like run by demons serving human meat. Yeah. It's like, go for it. Be like, yeah, we are a national distributor of murder meat.
We now provide all the fucking food for McDonald's or whatever. Yeah.
We'll make enough money that we pushed a bill through Congress that says it's now legal for us to murder people and sell it. You know,
they wouldn't even have to hide that shit.
Right. Yeah, really get ambitious with your scope. But anyway, yeah.
So yeah, that's the story. That's the show this week. I don't know why I'm saying this week. It's a different schedule. That's the show this time.
Well, I mean, it's still this week, and next week's show will be nothing.
Yeah, the next week. Yeah, every other week is like the contemplate hour to think about the show we just delivered to you.
I do like that thought now that a second show not by us pops up that's every other week, and it's somebody like doing reactionary. Like,
yeah, it's like the AMC always did those annoying like Talking Dead.
Yeah, exactly.
After shows like, what do you think about that episode? It was great. All right, we'll have more reactions from Patton Oswalt in a moment. Like
on essentially non-essential.
Patton, what did you think? It was awesome. It's like that. You're not gonna bring somebody on here like that was an hour of my life I'm never gonna get back.
It was a tough one this week. I didn't see it coming when they killed off Steve, but I think most of us cheered.
I can't believe they dropped a boat on Carl. That is a callback.
Yeah. Fantastic. I think that's like episode 2 or 3.
I don't think that was even this show.
It could have been the video game.
I think that was the video game podcast. I think that was one of the first off-topic tangents we fell down, was how much I hated Carl in The Walking Dead, and I wanted
just
bad
kids
things
in
to
general back then. But yeah, Carl.
It wasn't even the boy's fault. It was how he said his fucking name, Carl. It's like, you named him that. Why can't you say it? You're his father.
I have that theme song you guys came up with. It was fantastic. I bet it's stuck in my head now. Do, 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 do.
Yeah, it's weird that that's still in... I haven't heard that song in forever, and I still remember it. Really, just like... That show had a lot going for it in terms of annoying, repetitive jingles.
This is the show. I forget that one. Opened once. The one and only time I think I played guitar.
I do remember that.
Yeah, because I didn't warn you about that.
This is the start of the show. Come on and let's go.
And the best part is I'm not good at guitar now. Back then I think those were the 3 chords that I knew.
It was so like Sesame Street. It was so random. And
it wasn't. I will say that was intentional. It's not a like, oh, I'm embarrassed. It was supposed to be.
It was very funny.
Stupid. But the problem is that whole industry got unfun to cover. But it was a good show.
I'm still waiting for it to get fun again.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. We'll see you next time with another thing from somebody.
Another thing at another time. Do, 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 do. Like the meekest Twilight Zone sign.
Yeah. You're journeying somewhere, I think, maybe.
A place. Yeah. A place that's different from the place you were.
It's a weird place.
Not worse. Well, maybe worse.
It's probably worse, but it might be the occasional good episode where good things happen to you. Tonight on the Twilight.
No, you dropped a Twilight, because that's the thing. Where that meteor is like tonight on the Zone.
Calzone.
Calzone.
All right, I'm stopping the recording.